Let me ask you this. Right now, Arsenal are top of the table. They've just beaten Liverpool, who have had their number for a couple of seasons now. They've had a statement victory, not just this week, but last week against Spurs as well. What was it like when you were playing against Arsenal? Were they easily bullied? Did they have character? Did they have leadership? Did they look anything like what they are now?
No. When I was playing, we always knew that Arsenal were technically very good. You know, and I don't think, you know, going to away tough places at Stoke and, you know, miserable nights and that, you know, under Arsene Wenger, you could sort of get after them and, you know, unsettle them. This is a different Arsenal team. I see a different mentality. Like Mikel said, everybody looks together. There's a group, there's a willingness, there's a bond. Winning football matches make a big difference, and they're doing that. They're top of the league. They've got a little bit of a mojo, and there'll be a lot of big tests coming up for this Arsenal squad over the piece and over the season. They'll have tough away games, you know. So it'll be seeing how they can get through them.
And it won't all be plain sailing, Adam. That's for sure. It won't be. The best thing to happen to this Arsenal side was to lose at Manchester United, because that brought them back down to earth. You've got to ground yourself, and you've got to know this could happen at any one of the big teams. At home, you're supposed to hold serve.
Yeah.
When you go away from home, that's when you've got to dig in and try and dig results out. And, you know, losing away can happen. So it's there's a lot of hurdles to get over for this Arsenal side. I think they've had 3 big challenges. One was Manchester United, which they failed, and 2 they've passed. So it's going to be... That's the conundrum throughout the season now.
I would counter that by saying the best thing to happen to them was not getting Champions League football last year, because that taught them a very, very important lesson.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that, because the Champions League is the Champions League. Everybody wants to be playing the Champions League. Arsenal don't want to be in that Europa League.
Of course not. Not that.
Financially, they need to be in that Champions League. So it doesn't matter if they're in the Champions League or in the Europa League. They're still playing the Thursday night. Yeah. They'd rather be playing the Champions League.
Well, Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah.
They need to be playing the Champions League. So to say it's different if they had no European football.
Like last year.
But they've got European football this year, so it's there. They have to just fight on all fronts, like the top clubs have to. Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, you know, the big clubs are in the Champions League. They want to be in that Champions League.
Of course they do, but no one predicted that they would at the start of last season. Absolutely nobody, because Chelsea...
Especially after the first 3 games.
After the first 3 games, Lukaku had come into Chelsea. He looked like he was the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle. Chelsea, European champions. City, Liverpool... They looked like those are going to be the top 4 sides. No one, I think, predicted Arsenal to be there. But they almost did, and it just feels like they garnered experience. Let's not forget how young they were.
The experience of losing out has hurt them.
But that's what I mean, and Arteta's already said that this year.
Yeah, it's hurt them, but they're in Europe, so they want to win. In the Europa League, they can afford to rest players. In the Champions League, you can't afford to rest players.
I'm not looking at whether the fact they're playing in Europe or not, or which competition. I'm looking at the fact that they've had it snatched away from them at the death, and they're using that as fuel. They
weren't good enough.
Yeah.
It's just simply that they weren't good enough. You know, over the whole 38 games, they weren't good enough.
They weren't, but now they have the experience of that.
But we're not even into 10 games. Let's just...
Of course, yeah.
Let's just wait. There's 38 games, and where they finish at the end of the season is what Arsenal will be. They've started well. It helps them. It breeds confidence. A long, long way to go.
Adam, I'll tell you this. I think what you're trying to get at is they carried that loss,
that hurt,
that pain, all summer.
That goes a long way, by the way.
And, you know, as a player, when you've missed out on something and you know really we should have done it, it was in their hands and they dropped it, and the worst person to drop it to is your rival. You give it to Spurs in a sense. Now the determination is we've got to go minimum 1 better. They're proving that they can be consistent over the first 9 games. But we know how long this season is, and especially with a World Cup in the middle, players are going to fly out. And what they're going to be like when they come back, you just don't know these things. So it's a long way to go.